Good Thursday morning to you. It is a numbers game at VSiN, the sports betting network where sports betting lives. VSiN.com. Game Plus, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV. It's Gill Alexander. It's Kelley Bidlin live from Bar Canada at the day.
Yeah, let's go. Thursday. Football.
Was shaking.
Not much, man.
Dude, college football shaking. You're absolutely right. Colorado in action tonight. That's always a lightning rod. Tim Murray will join us in a bit to talk about all of his college football plays. Maybe he doesn't have one in this Colorado game tonight. I don't know.
Maybe not.
This Colorado-North Dakota State game is the quintessential I can't possibly figure out which side to play game. And so you have to apply the, the Sunday morning theory. If it were in the middle, like the NFL thing that I will say, if it were in the middle of the early block of NFL games, would you play this game? No, obviously Colorado, North Dakota State.
I'm glad you hit the pause button right here, because remember we played the whole game last week with NFL bets of like, what's the bet you've heard the most?
Yes.
That sort of thing. Week 1 college football, the bet I've heard the most is North Dakota State and taking the points.
It's got that for sure. And this game has the most handle by fact, right? More than any of the 3 marquee matchups, which we'll get Tim's thoughts on as well, all of his best bets. It is Zach and Crack Thursday, though. Don't forget that. Zach Cohn will join us, U.S. Open bets. He's got some college football thoughts. And Crack Man, I shouldn't have to run from a Crack Man. Bill Krackenberger coming up second hour, unscripted with the Crack Man. Tennis plays to start this show. Can we do that again? The United States Open, the greatest show on earth, happening in New York right now. Second part of the second round of state. By the way, yesterday 2-1 for a winning day. We lost on Gill Monfils. We won on Stearns and on Echeverry. We lost on Gill Monfils as a dog to Casper Ruud. The end of that match happened after the last scheduled matches of the day. That one got suspended, and then the very end of it got played afterwards. And we didn't deserve to win. The Monfils-Ruud match got stopped because of rain. They were an outdoor court.
Okay.
So the Djokovic, they let Djokovic and all those guys were playing in center court by themselves. Djokovic won by De Gea pulling out. And what was the other match? Fritz was crushing Berrettini
early in that, right? What was going on with him?
He was having a medical issue, and then for a moment it looked like he was going to drop the second set, and then De Gea, he ended up with a medical issue. He had to withdraw from the match. So there was only the 2 indoors happening, but then it stopped raining, and there was a tiebreaker in the 4th set. Monfils couldn't stay alive. He ended up losing. But one of the points in that tiebreaker is what I was getting to, where he was literally toying with Ruud, like sending him back and forth on the court like a little kid. And then he was lollygagging with the slams, and Ruud with just a running cross-court forehand winner, which is probably the shot of the tournament so far. But we end up 2-1. That's a winning day. Today, 5 plays. 5. Count them at the U.S. Open. 2 on the ladies' side, 3 on the men's side. On the ladies' side, I've got Karolina Muchova. I have her to win the quarter. I got her against Naomi Osaka. Nobody, with the exception of maybe Aryna Sabalenka, has looked better in the first couple rounds here than did Naomi Osaka in her opening match against Yelena Ostapenko. I got Muchova here at plus 127 now. It's plus 114 now. Remember, VSiN.com/picks. Every host, every guest, every sport that they're betting, every play is at VSiN.com/picks. That is for subscribers. So I'm 13 cents better on Muchova. Don't let it get any lower. Don't let it get lower than plus 110. But it's plus 114 right now. I got her plus 127 last night against Osaka. Her year-long hardcourt numbers are just better, as great as Osaka has been playing. And then I'm taking a flyer on Jessie Buzzas-Monero over Katie Bolter. Buzzas-Monero is a feisty player who at this price absolutely had to play. She is at plus 139. You can still play her here. Don't let her get below the plus 130s. So again, pays to be a subscriber because you get a lot, usually, there are exceptions to this, but usually we're getting a lot better in terms of CLV, which hasn't really necessarily translated to wins, I have to say, but that's the point of all this. Men's side, the big dog is Jordan Thompson. Taking Jordan Thompson against Hubert Hurkacz, who's a serve bot. Hurkacz is going to have to rely on his serve. Thompson, plus 161 now, still very playable. Not quite as good as last night's number, plus 173. Still playable. But Thompson's a good returner as well. So Hurkacz is going to have to really be sharp. And Jordan Thompson way this price is way out of whack to me. So plus 160, plus 173 last night on Jordan Thompson over Okatz. Then Daniel Evans. We didn't mention this yesterday when I was talking about all the greatness of the U.S. Open. Daniel Evans is coming off the longest match in the history of the U.S. Open. He beat Karen Khachanov in 5 sets in 5 hours and 35 minutes the other day.
I was just sitting here wondering, I'm like, isn't that the guy from the other day?
He is the guy from the other day. So a lot, this line is muted to me because people are like, oh, he's going to be tired.
Right, yeah.
You can get him at about 6 cents better than I got him. He's minus 106. So I think the market is really falling on the fact that he played a 5-hour, 35-minute match.
Which, I get. But how much do you think they're building that into the price?
I think the market is...
Would this be minus 130 if this was a normal, 2.5-hour match?
I had a price at about minus 129, minus 128 when I was doing mine. So I got minus 112 last night. Navone's hard court numbers are not good. I'm taking Daniel Evans, who is a slice machine and just an annoying player to play. And then finally, Nuno Borges at plus 115 over Thanasi Kokkinakis.
I'd love to be an annoying player to play. Like, slice! And then, yelling every time, do slice!
You just gonna say it out loud? That's actually the same price that it is now. So, Mukova and Busas Monero on the ladies' side, Jordan Thompson, Daniel Evans, and Nuno Borges on the men's side. Let's go. U.S. Open, baby.
Like it.
Can't wait. Can we talk about wide receiver drama real quick?
Let's do it.
So we got guests and we got Craig. We got to get to a lot of stuff. Well, first of all, for those who did have Jacoby Brissett as your starting quarterback for the New England Patriots and laid a big price, I know that got dicey for you. I know they got scary, but Gerard Mayo says it will be Jacoby Brissett as the Week 1 starter versus the Bengals. That according to Adam Schefter per Jeremy Fowler, I believe, initially, but both of them get credit. But that's the story. And Gerard Mayo, very clear when announcing that it's Jacoby Brissett. If you could read through his, read between the lines, he kind of was saying, I know Drake May is a better quarterback than Jacoby Brissett, and this will change at some point. But for now, we're going with the veteran. Is that a good read on what he said?
Yeah.
I think so.
I also think there was, I think when it's him and Russell Wilson, good on anybody who cashed tickets out there, or not yet, right? Because first snap of Week 1.
That's right, Mike Tomlin.
We haven't cashed anything yet.
I'm not surprised about the Russell Wilson thing, nor should anybody.
I think it was going to be those two all along, no matter really what happened in the preseason.
The Brissett injury thing caused a wobble.
Good point. Yes, yeah. That was the only way I think that would have changed. Even with there is, I think that was a. The Steelers, you could say both of those quarterbacks didn't look all that great in the preseason, but I think New England, you could make the case that Drake May looked a little better than Jacoby Brissett, but it's just, the point remains, we talked all offseason about with this Patriots team, the offensive line's terrible.
Yeah.
So what, you're just going to run the kid out there? And
don't get the kid killed.
Yeah, you're going to get him killed. You're going to kill his confidence.
Don't make him be David Carr.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, you could kind of read between the lines. At some point it will be made, but it will be Brissett opening day, taking the first snap anyway. You hope that's not some wildcat nonsense if you have a Brissett ticket. Wilson, as Kelley mentioned, Russell Wilson named the starter for the Steelers. No surprise there. The Chargers, I guess they finally decided, our starting quarterback has a plantar fasciitis problem. Maybe we should solidify the backup position, and Easton Stick isn't the way to go. So they signed Taylor Heineke, or they traded for Taylor Heineke, I should say.
I have no idea why I haven't bet the under on their win total yet. I still think if there's one last NFL futures bet I'm going to make, it is that.
6th-round pick goes to the Falcons for Taylor Heineke. And then the wide receiver drama, which I was just briefly referring to. This is getting a little weird in both Cincinnati and San Francisco. Well, San Francisco, it's been weird all summer. This Brandon Ayuk thing is just ridiculous. Again, he's good. He's very good. But, to have this as the number one ongoing football story of the entire offseason, it feels like anyway. Brandon Ayuk cleared medically, still not at practice. After the Niners trimmed their roster of 53 players, he was cleared by the medical staff, according to head coach Kyle Shanahan. That clearance was the driving force behind Shanahan then saying, hey, I think Brandon Ayuk is going to practice, talking about yesterday. And then John Lynch, the GM, adding later that Ayuk practicing was the expectation. And then guess what? Brandon Ayuk didn't practice. And John Lynch was not happy about it. He was not happy about it.
So I guess the way this has been working is they've been cutting him some slack because they've been calling it medical reasons why he hasn't been there. And now yesterday was the first official day where they were like, okay, you need to be at practice. You've been medically cleared. You need to be at practice.
Daily fines could be coming.
Right. Yeah, he was not getting fined before, right? That's what it sounds like could start to happen now.
And as I talked about earlier in the week, as a fan of the Washington football team, woofed, as we like to call them, Trent Williams not playing is the worst possible thing that could happen to a franchise. And I think the Brandon Ayuk thing is just, I hate to say it, lesser than the Trent Williams thing. Trent Williams decided in D.C., you messed up with me. I'm never playing for you again. And he stuck to it. And not that Washington was as good then as San Francisco is now, but that's a huge deal.
What's the overreaction going to be like when the Jets roll into San Francisco and beat them by, 17?
Well, you talk about bets we haven't made yet. Jets money line is a bet I haven't made. I bet them against the spread, but I haven't bet them money line yet. Jamar Chase in Cincinnati, less than 24 hours after Zach Taylor, the Bengals head coach, said that Chase will continue to practice this week. Chase did not participate as the team continued its preparation for its season opener. So I don't know, in both cases, should the Bengals be worried? Should Bengals fans or backers be worried? Should bettors be worried? Same thing with the Niners. I think with the Niners, I said it with Trent Williams, I think you need to be more worried about that than anything.
Yeah, agreed.
You still think that Jamar Chase is going to show up at this point? But, I don't know if you know this, Kelley, but the NFL season starts next week.
Well, and it's that, right? I feel like all offseason, Jamar Chase maybe more so than anybody, CeeDee Lamb included, it was just assumed this deal was going to get worked out. And, we start playing football really soon here.
You know what they say about assuming? I won't get into it. We'll come back. Zach Cohen, college football, U.S. Open. He's got it all next. Numbers Game, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Less than 1% of people that are remaining in Survivor.
It's gut-wrenching. It's completely taken over my life the last 5 weeks.
The rest of your Thanksgiving Day absolutely ruined. You are out of Circus Survivor.
Wow, I wish I didn't talk to you.
Obviously, there's a lot of haters I have right now because they want to chop, and this money means a lot to them.
You can feel the money.
At VSiN, we've got you covered before, during, and after every game. Jumpstart your game day with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN Primetime at 6 Eastern. They'll get you ready before the first tip, puck drop, and pitch, ensuring you're ahead of the game. Then stay in the loop during all the action with the Greg Peterson Experience at 9. And as the night wraps up, join Matt Humans and Wes Reynolds on VSiN Tonight at 11, giving you the first look at tomorrow's lines to get an edge on the next day's bets. All this and more, only on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. VSiN is extending our VSiN Pro Football Special. That means for $175, you'll get access to both our NFL and college football betting guides, plus so much more. With VSiN Pro, you'll receive daily picks straight to your inbox, detailed analysis on every game, and exclusive data like our betting splits to help you become a sharper bettor. Get all this for just $175 through the Super Bowl. Or try a monthly subscription and get your first 30 days for only $19. Don't miss out on this unbeatable offer. Sign up now at VSiN.com/subscribe.
Elevate your sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup. Then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to VSiN.com/pro to join VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Numbers Game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Back on a Numbers Game, live here from Bar Canada at the D. Gill, Alexander, Kelley, Bidlin. By the way, for those looking for a clarification on the exact fine, Brandon Ayuk could face a daily fine of up to $45,769. Kelley, let's get it to the dollar.
I love when we are that specific.
If he misses multiple daily team activities amid his hold-in for a new contract. Hold-in.
You know, what are always the ones we talk about, like the Donniebrooks? They always have to be old-fashioned, right? Like
Donniebrooks are always old-fashioned.
Accrue, you never really use that word unless you're talking money. You know what I mean? Like, can I accrue other things?
The other thing is broad daylight only applies to bad things that happen. Like, I don't say hi to you in broad daylight, but I murder you in broad daylight.
That's a good call. We haven't talked about that one before. That's a good one.
Broad daylight, everybody. My mom loved broad daylight. In broad daylight. Ladies and gentlemen, he's part of the glue that holds this all together. Betting on X is where you can find him on Twitter. And, of course, he is everywhere at VSiN.com on multiple sports. It's our buddy Zach Cohen, who was also kind enough to be on the U.S. Open Megapod the other day, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. How you doing, Zach?
I'm a little upset. I had Laszlo Djere plus 9.5 games last night, which seemed like it was done. I mean, I needed one more game in that third set to win, and he retired.
Do you feel like, when I was watching that, the thought occurred to me, I'm by myself, so I didn't say it out loud, but the thought occurred to me, I'm like, Novak Djokovic has some mystical power. Like, he's just, you're watching this match, and if you've watched Djokovic a million times like those of us tennis hardos have, you're like, oh, wow, it looks like he could drop this second set. Should I make an in-match wager on Djere? And the next split second, you're like, there's not a chance in hell I'm doing that. But it looked like... Right, it looked like Djokovic the trainer's hand was down his pants, like working on his lower ab. It was like really kind of odd. And then the next thing you know, you look up and it's Djere who's got to withdraw from the match. It's like, how does it? It's like amazing beyond his actual talent, this mystical power as well.
Yeah, I saw some tweet that was like U.S. Open after dark with the trainer putting his hand on Djokovic.
That's right.
Yeah, that's always a weird matchup between him and Djere because obviously they're both Serbian. I think that they're longtime friends. It seems like he kind of has a lot of confidence in the matchup because he's so familiar with his game. But yeah, it is strange. It's just he's always dealing with something physically. It never actually ends up taking him out of a tournament or anything. The only thing that's ever really taken him out of a tournament was him hitting a ball person with the ball.
That's right. That's the one thing he couldn't get past.
What was it, first set when they were trying to get the electrolytes to him or whatever? I had to hit the rewind on the TV too because I had it on mute. I'm like, what? Why is this coach like slipping the ball kid at 20 or something? Like I thought he was giving him money. I was so confused for a second.
How is your U.S. Open gone so far, betting wise, Zach?
It's been pretty good until yesterday. I had a pretty tough day yesterday. I didn't get that Djere one home. I did end up playing Berrettini and Fritz over 3.5 sets at minus 172. So I laid some juice and ended up losing that one.
Yeah.
I thought that Berrettini was going to get that second set tiebreaker. Really collapsed after that. But other than that, it's been good. And my futures are still alive, even though hanging on by a thread with Yuri Leheshka to win quarter four. You barely beat Mitchell Kruger yesterday. But yeah, feeling pretty good about everything.
That Mitchell Kruger match, I was telling boys that Mitchell Kruger was one of the last ones I cut out for my plays yesterday. And when he was up 2 sets to nothing and up 3-love in the third set, and I'm just killing myself for not making the play. And then a couple hours later, you're like, see, that's why I didn't make the play right there. That's why. Okay, what do you have today?
I have Facundo Diaz-Acosta plus 8.5 games against Jack Draper, and that's one where, I really wouldn't have had any interest in it unless the spread was that big. I just think that Draper is a player I'm really high on. I think he's incredible, but that is a lot of respect from the odds makers. Diaz-Acosta is a pretty solid player with, a decently big serve, a really big forehand. I think that he's capable of holding enough in that match to cover a spread that big, and, Draper's a player that obviously has had physical issues in the past at majors. It's not supposed to be hot today. It's actually supposed to be pretty cool, like 76 degrees, but it is supposed to be humid. So I could see Draper, struggling with that a little bit. And, that's the type of match where, he wins 6-4, 6-4, 6-3. You end up winning the play on the underdog. So I took plus 8.5 in that one. I also went with Max Purcell plus 2.5 sets against Tommy Paul, which is, a scary one as well, just because Paul is a player that really should beat Purcell rather easily. But I do think that Tommy plays with his food a little bit too much. And I also think we saw it, in his first round match against Lorenzo Sonigo. Paul really dominated him for the entirety of that match, was up a break in the third set to win in straights, ended up getting broken from out of nowhere and then got broken again to lose that set. And I think that playing against Purcell, a player that is a really big server, has a good serve and volley game, has a really straightforward game, you can't really afford to just mess around out there at all. So I think that Tommy's in danger of losing, one set in that match.
I like the I'm starting to warm to the plays with his food analogy that's getting bantied about these days. Very, very descriptive. Max Purcell, by the way, Kelley, if you're scoring at home, boyfriend of Priscilla Hahn, a player who gave Arena Sabalenka a little run the other night.
I was like, am I supposed to know who that is?
If you had watched, you would know what I mean. All right, let us switch to college football, where you have you've really stepped up the college football writing this year, haven't you?
Yeah, I did it a lot last year, but this year I was just way more prepared going into the season. I've read like every single guide there was to read. I've done a lot of research, so I was really pumped to get going this year.
Okay, you wrote specifically, I see the headline here talking about Heisman Trophy watch already here week 1. That was the subject you tackled. Are you touching this Colorado game tonight? Let's start there.
No, I'm not touching anything tonight, actually. I'm getting first into the action on Saturday. That column, it's really just kind of a look at what games you need to watch heading into this weekend if you are looking at the Heisman Trophy market. So I'm not really giving out any plays in it, but, I'm highlighting what's at stake in the game like Texas A&M and Notre Dame, where, Notre Dame has Riley Leonard, a player that a lot of people like to win the Heisman Trophy, and Texas A&M has a player in Connor Wegman, who people think, can potentially, win the award if Texas A&M does live up to expectations and win 10 or so games. So that is a column without much picks in it, but it does have, I'm setting the table for a big Saturday of matchups and a Sunday game between LSU and USC that also could potentially have Heisman implications down the road.
What's the Carson Beck theory, that he's got to destroy in this game, or anything short of that, it's like he's behind the 8 ball already?
I don't know. I think if he just throws for like 250 yards and 2 touchdowns and a win, it is going to do enough, just because Clemson's defense was top 10 in the country last year. They're thought of very highly heading into this season as well. So I think that, more unlike anybody else, like he just has to play his game against an elite defense, and he's going to be in pretty good shape as we start the season. But he is, second on the odds board. People are expecting him to compete in that market this year. I'm really not a Carson Beck guy. It's a little crazy to me. I'm seeing him going, number 1 in the 2025 NFL draft mock drafts right now, but he's playing at a team that protects for him, has a lot of playmakers. All he really has to do is distribute the ball really quickly, and he's going to put up huge numbers this year.
Which bet did you care to share from Saturday that you've made?
One that I really warmed up on, after seeing what we saw in week 0 is Arizona minus 30 against New Mexico. I just thought that we saw New Mexico's defensive line get absolutely handled by, Montana State, an FCS program. Arizona's offensive linemen, on average are like 20 to 30 pounds bigger than those Montana State offensive linemen. So I think you're going to see the Wildcats really dominate in the ground game. And I think if New Mexico does end up, overplaying the box at all, Noah Fafita is going to pick them apart. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Had a huge year a year ago, had NIL offers to go to the biggest programs in college football in the offseason, chose to stay at Arizona. So I think it's a game that Arizona is going to be really tough to stop. I also think that the Arizona defense was pretty good last year. They return, enough talent that I think that they'll be able to really slow down New Mexico, who I don't think has much of, a passing game or a running game. So I think it's a game that has the potential to turn into a really lopsided affair. I also think, with Brennan being his first game in Arizona, taking over for Fish, who took, the high prestige job at Washington, I think that they're going to keep their foot on the gas for the entire game. So I think that's going to be a really big blowout in Arizona.
Before you go, Zach, Kelley and I, a little later this hour, we're going to go through the Pro Football Betting Guide. Not our own picks necessarily, although we'll touch on that. We're going to go through everybody else's picks and pick the ones we like the best. What is your own that you like, perhaps above the rest?
In the new guide, I gave out a pick of Jared Goff to lead the league in passing yards. I see everybody at the network is on that MVP pick. I agree with the logic that Goff is going to light it up, playing 14 of his first 15 games indoors. I just can't get there with MVP because I think that Goff has a reputation in the league as like, not a game manager, but I think he has a reputation as a quarterback that needs help from elite offensive coaches in order to put up big numbers. And I just kind of can't see him winning the MVP award. But with something statistical like that, you can't deny him. So I think that there's going to be a lot of passing yards this year. He was second in the league last year behind Tua Tagovailoa, who I think only, led the league in passing yards because of what he did against the Chargers in week 1. So I think that Goff's in really good shape to lead the league in passing. And yeah, I would stay away from that MVP market, but I would still go for a double-digit payout on the passing yards.
I like your strategy. I'm with you on MVP because he put up huge numbers last year, didn't even sniff it, right? So you wonder what the bar has to be for that. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate it as always, man. Good luck with the tennis plays.
Thanks, guys.
Zach Cohen, Betting on X. By the way, the updated NFL betting guide with post-preseason updates for every team. VSiN.com/subscribe. Lock in your VSiN Pro access through football season for only $175 or start a monthly subscription for just $19 and see how VSiN Pro can make you a better bettor. Everybody's bets, everybody's explanations. Kelley and I will go through some of them a little later on. Tim Murray on the other side with college football plays. That's next, right here in a numbers game.
Don't bet college football this season without VSiN's College Football Betting Guide. It's packed with previews of 134 FBS teams, 10 conference breakdowns, and analysis of every new head coach and more. Plus, power ratings and best bets from all the VSiN experts and contributors. The guide is out now, and the only way to get it is to become a VSiN Pro subscriber. Head on over to VSiN.com/subscribe and join us on the Sports Betting Network. VSiN is extending our VSiN Pro Football Special. That means for $175, you'll get access to both our NFL and college football betting guides, plus so much more. With VSiN Pro, you'll receive daily picks straight to your inbox, detailed analysis on every game, and exclusive data like our betting splits to help you become a sharper bettor. Get all this for just $175 through the Super Bowl. Or try a monthly subscription and get your first 30 days for only $19. Don't miss out on this unbeatable offer. Sign up now at VSiN.com/subscribe.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Hey, tonight is the final episode of Circa Survivor, the quest for $9.2 million. By the way, episode 4 was outstanding. Episode 4 was excellent. The final episode tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on VSiN. 5-part docuseries taking you inside the high-stakes world of the annual Circa Survivor contest as we follow the contestants throughout the 2023 NFL season. VSiN, well represented as well in this. Multiple hosts. You can watch the final episode tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on VSiN.com and YouTube TV, as well as a live broadcast on X. Go to VSiN.com/survivor for details or to watch previous episodes. Was great. The villain, Sean Perry, was prominently featured last night. Tonight's episode is all about the eventual winners and how they got to the end and what they decided to do with the money and all that stuff. It's excellent.
I'm gonna have to catch up on it all.
You sound very moved.
How many? No, I'm over here thinking like I got to catch up on stuff, but I'm still interested to see how many of those guys are willing to talk, what they're willing to talk about. It's
great. By the way, my oldest, dearest friend in the world, my best friend, Tommy in D.C., he just texted me this morning. He's like, hey, you want to go in on one of those together? Want a Survivor entry? And I'm like, oh, okay. I already had in my mind I was going to have my 5. So I think I'm going to get a 6th, which is just me and him.
Yeah, I can't do it. It's funny you say that because I got my buddy Casey I've brought up multiple times on the show.
Everybody's got a Casey.
We split a millions entry. But to me, and he asked me, he's like, you want to split a Survivor one this year too? And I'm like, no.
That's what I told Tommy.
I think millions is easier to do with someone else than Survivor.
Exactly what I told Tommy, and I think he's offended. I'm like, dude, I play this differently than you are. We're just going to get into an argument. Inevitably, it's going to lose, and one of us is going to be mad at the other person.
Exactly.
And he's like, I don't care, Gilly, let's do it. I'm like, okay.
When you do millions, the worst thing the worst case scenario is someone ends up getting 3 one week, and like the next week the other person gets 3.
Yeah, even that's a pain.
It is.
You know who else is from D.C.? Tim Murray, everybody. VSiN's own co-host of VSiN Prime Time. Joins us now, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line, to talk some college football. What's happening, Tim?
What's up, man? I concur with all that you guys have said. The doc has been awesome and reminds me of the scars of last year.
How far did you get last year, if I might ask?
Week 3.
Week 3. I was
part of the carnage. I had the Jaguars against the Texans, and then I also had Cowboys against the Cardinals.
Oh, I certainly remember at least one of those. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, better luck to you this year, my friend.
Thank you. Yes.
Let us begin, because I know you.
This is the year, right? Everyone always said.
This is the year, Tim. Maybe 10 million, 11 million, 12 million. Who knows what it's going to be this year.
I'm looking forward to being out week 1 with those Buccaneers.
Oh, no. Okay, college football. I know you have a lot to say here, Tim, and I want to get to the marquee. You can even if you don't want to play, it's just little nuggets on the marquee matchups. But can we start with a little nugget on tonight's game? Are you playing Colorado, North Dakota State at all tonight?
I haven't gotten involved in it yet. North Dakota State, if you want a nugget, their All-American safety is out for the foreseeable future. So 8 interceptions a year ago. PFF graded him as, I believe, the top safety in college football just a season ago. I'm fascinated to see this game, Gill. I do have a bet against Colorado in week 3. The South Point has a 9 out there with Colorado State hosting Colorado. So from a game of the year standpoint, I do have some exposure against Colorado. But, to be honest, Gil, this was a game that I never really wanted to get involved in. It felt like it would become like too cute to get in on the FCS power that is North Dakota State. Mm-hmm. We saw this get up to high as 10, has now bounced back a little bit to 9.5. But very curious to see how this plays out. The one thing that I would be a little curious about is the total. I'm not normally a big totals guy, Gil, but I do think, and I heard someone mention this either on the network or on a podcast somewhere, where you got Pat Shurmur as the offensive coordinator, no longer Sean Lewis, who is the flash fast offensive coordinator that got unceremoniously let go last year, and then North Dakota State. I can't imagine they're going to want to go up tempo. So I do wonder if 60.5 is a little rich for this game. So that would be maybe a way I would look to attack it, maybe an under on this game. But very curious to see how Colorado looks from an offensive line standpoint, because obviously that was their downfall just a year ago.
All right. Let's get the marquee games out of the way.
Yep.
Do you have anything on Clemson, Georgia? Georgia favored by 13.5. Anything on LSU and USC? That's 4.5 now. And I know better than to even ask this question because I know the answer. Your Notre Dame Fighting Irish, you must have a thought on them and A&M.
All right. I know we have 5.5 minutes left, so I don't want to spend the entire time on it, but I have many thoughts on Notre Dame, Texas A&M. First off, in pocket is an under bet, and I still think it's good at 46.5, anywhere to like 45.5. I think these defenses should own this game. When you look at Notre Dame's defense, there were some questions about the health regarding their corner, Benjamin Morrison. He said he's good to go coming off-season shoulder surgery. There was questions about Howard Cross, their sixth-year defensive tackle, dealing with a hamstring injury. From everything that's been reported, he should be good to go. And then on the flip side, Texas A&M, Gill, they've got a loaded-up defensive front. Yes, they lost Walter Nolan, who was thought to be by many the best transfer out there, and he left to go to Ole Miss. But they brought in Nick Scorton from Purdue. Bruce Feldman rated him as the third most impactful transfer this year. And Notre Dame has a career 6 starts on their offensive line. That's not ideal. So I do think the defenses should own this game. I think it's more of an ugly type of primetime game. So I would still look under 46.5, which is out there at a couple of shops still, even 46 worth playable. But this was as high as 49 in the offseason. Quickly on the other games, Gill, I'll mention Clemson, Georgia. I'm so intrigued by this game. I haven't gotten to the window yet, but I'm looking a little bit towards Clemson here. It does feel like Dabo has gotten, just a ton of negativity. Rightfully so, this offseason. He refuses to go into the transfer portal. They've dealt with a little bit of injuries on the defensive side. I'm fascinated to see how Garrett Riley, year 2 as their offensive coordinator. Remember, his last stop prior to Clemson was TCU, helping guide them to the college football championship game. And then Georgia, life without Brock Bowers, life without Ladd McConkey, Colby Young, who they brought in from Miami, dealing with some injuries. I believe ETN, who they brought in the transfer portal, could potentially be out for this game as well. So I think Clemson could keep this game competitive here with their defense. And then lastly, I'll go to, Sunday night. And Gil, I'm of the belief here, because, if you know anything about college football, LSU fans travel, and they are going to be in this town in droves starting probably today. There's going to be a lot of purple all around this city, and I think this could potentially get bet up a little bit. But I'm looking at this game, and I'm curious about these two defenses. How much better are they this year? Blake Baker comes in as the new defensive coordinator for LSU, Gill, and then USC, they go out and get D'Anton Lynn, Anthony Lynn's son from UCLA. They also added Doug Belk from Houston. They added North Dakota State's former head coach. So I'm just very intrigued to see how these defenses stand up. Obviously, people would think that they aren't because the total has been bet up to 64.5. But USC is something I don't have in pocket yet, but I'm looking a little bit at the Trojans here on Sunday night at Allegiant Stadium.
Yeah, this was 6. Dr. Bob took the 6 with USC. It immediately crashed to 4.5 in favor of LSU. All right, what did you bet besides the under in the Notre Dame game?
Yeah, a couple games that are in pocket. I do have some Wyoming +7, and I'll give a tip of the cap here to JVT. Yeah. JVT wrote up the Mountain West as well as the Big 12 for our VSiN college football betting guide. And we saw this number open 7, go down to 6.5, some movement back towards Arizona State. The question I have about Wyoming, obviously Craig Bull has retired, but they stayed in-house. Craig Sauvel comes in as their new head coach, Jay Sauvel, excuse me. So, Evan Svoboda, if you're watching this game late night, where's number 17, Gill? He's 6'5", 240 pounds. So a little reminiscent of a pretty famous Wyoming former quarterback. And I think Wyoming should be able to hang in this game at Arizona State. So that was one. And then lastly, this was kind of a hold my nose special here, but I took the 21 with Georgia State. I am so intrigued to see how Georgia Tech responds after going abroad, beating Florida State, having all of the accolades and the positivity, and now you come home. It's probably going to be a sleepy environment. Georgia State's got a new head coach, so this is put a clothespin on your nose type of special. But Georgia State was a small little play for me at plus 21. I want to know how Georgia Tech's going to respond. They ran the ball so well against Florida State. They limited the possessions. So if you're limiting the possessions, are you able to cover a 21-point spread? So going to hold our nose on Saturday night and take the Panthers of Georgia State plus 3 touchdowns.
Tim Murray, how tall are you?
6'6".
And you played college basketball D?
3.
That's Tyler Shoemaker, VSiN contributor. Can you do that? Can you do that?
Back in my day, Gill, back in my day.
I think what Tim said is no longer. Thank you, Tim.
Not
Appreciate
anymore,
it, man. Good to see you. Tim Murray, everybody. We'll come back. We'll look at everybody else's bets, the ones we like best, next.
Less than 1% of people that are remaining in Survivor.
It's gut-wrenching. It's completely taken over my life the last 5 weeks.
The rest of your Thanksgiving day absolutely ruined. You are out of Circus Survivor.
Wow, I wish I didn't talk to you.
Obviously, there's a lot of haters I have right now because they want to chop, and this money means a lot to them.
You can feel the money.
VSiN is extending our VSiN Pro Football Special. That means for $175, you'll get access to both our NFL and college football betting guides, plus so much more. With VSiN Pro, you'll receive daily picks straight to your inbox, detailed analysis on every game, and exclusive data like our betting splits to help you become a sharper bettor. Get all this for just $175 through the Super Bowl. Or try a monthly subscription and get your first 30 days for only $19. Don't miss out on this unbeatable offer. Sign up now at VSiN.com/subscribe.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Back at Bar Canada at the D, downtown Las Vegas. This is a numbers game right here at VSiN, the sports betting network. Gill Alexander and my friend Kelley Bidlin, ladies and gentlemen. Producer number 9. So much more than a producer.
Hey, friend.
Hello, friend.
Hey, friendo.
Hey, has anybody come up with that as a catchphrase? Hello, friend. Maybe we should use that. We get tweets at Beating the Book. Always appreciate the feedback. The best listeners in the game. I'm telling you. Jason Stark, not that Jason Stark, not the national baseball writer, but a different Jason Stark, writing about baseball, says, interesting info for the stretch run. Twins to miss the playoffs plus 360. Problem is it's the Red Sox who have the best chance to catch them. Oh, you beat me to it, Jason. Remaining strength of schedule is basically the same. Thoughts? Now, he adds in this a tweet from Barstool. The Twins, did you know this about the Twins? So the Twins now have dropped to the 11th best record in baseball. The Braves actually took over the 10th spot when we talk about best record, which we'll flash up the stats later. But the Twins this year, 60-6, 12-1 against the White Sox, 60-60 against everybody else.
Good on them. Take care of business, man. You're supposed to beat up on the bad teams.
Yeah, but the point being,
right.
Will they miss the playoffs plus 360? But you're right, Jason. The Red Sox is the problem because I don't know if we can trust the Red Sox there. David Shalafor, week 1 of college football and still no Todd Wishnev, old Southern football coach. # let's go. Oh, Todd Wishnev back with the Southern football coach coming up, I'm sure, starting Tuesday with the Megapod. And if he's willing to come on the show, the problem is Todd is holding out for compensation for coming on the show or something. So he's a tough get, this guy. Nemesis Enforcer, you just moved the market on the Orcats match. I'm on Jordan Thompson. FanDuel suspended it as soon as you gave it out. That does happen with the tennis picks sometimes. Bookmaker used to take it down when we would give them out as well for a brief period of time as well.
Really?
So, yeah,
okay.
Because it's tennis.
Yeah.
It's not like it's football. So.
Yeah, they just even see the smallest influx of cash, and it's like, whoa, what's going on? Before we reset.
Like I'm just thinking like the 2021 hardcourt season, for instance, which was so ridiculously good, they took them all down as soon as we did it. Not quite as much these days, but certainly FanDuel reacted there. Just to follow VSiN. So I'm driving around listening to ANG in broad daylight. LOL. I'm adding this to my daily vocab. The variation and actionable information from this show is unlimited. Thank you. That's a very high compliment.
That was a good one. That was a good one. I'm surprised you haven't brought that up before. Like,
broad daylight?
Like they're playing tennis today in broad daylight.
Nobody says that. But something bad happens. Some stuff goes down, if you know what I mean. I guess we'll read the rest of the tweets later. Okay, so NFL Betting Guide Part 2. What are we calling it specifically again?
The updated one?
The updated guide. We have a special name for the updated guide. But anyway, it's out. It's at VSiN.com/betting-guides. The Pro Edition Update is what we're calling it, Kelley Bidlin. The Pro Edition Update. Post preseason updates on every team, players to watch, host best bets, week 1 betting systems. The best bets is what we want to seize on today, and not just necessarily the ones that you and I have. Because, by the way, the one that I have is, I've talked about it ad nauseum all summer long. You don't need to hear me wax on about how I think the Steelers will go under and that I have 2 alternate season win total under plays on the Steelers. You don't need to hear me go on about that. By the way, Russell Wilson, good luck.
Yeah, we can roll through them quick, though. Those are
you want to? Okay.
Those are ones.
All right, well, here are yours. Yours are up on the screen first. Oh, there's both of ours.
Yeah, and these were more supposed to be ones we didn't have in the original guide, right, that we had added along the way.
So these are not all of our bets, but these are the ones that we have in the guide anyway.
Yes,
there are my Steelers alternate unders on the bottom and the Kelley's Seahawks to make the playoffs. Seahawks to make the playoffs as a wild card seed. Where'd you get that one specifically?
Caesars, I think.
Okay.
But that was one like shop around price because the price was shockingly different book to book.
Patriots, most regular season losses. Patriots, last winless team. Anthony, then one of these things is not like the other. Anthony Richardson, MVP. Boy, are you going to get the last laugh if that happens.
Right, heard I caught some crap on sharp money yesterday for it. It's okay, boys.
Patrick and Dustin were making fun of you.
Long season, man. We haven't seen this kid play much. Let's see.
No, we haven't.
And really, this is my betting strategy for the Colts. Like, I think the AFC South is, like, just a quick explanation on that. I'm just aiming high on Colts. Like, I don't think they're really worth a win total over bet. I think if we're really talking about them making the playoffs and being a double-digit win team, he's likely a big part of that reason, and therefore could be easily in that conversation at the end of the year.
Okay, we hear you. The task here is, all right, we got the new guide. We went through everybody else's bets, And the point of this is, which do we like the best? Which of all of the other folks, and there's, what is that, like 15 deep on VSiN hosts, something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's everybody's in there. Everybody's got their plays. Which do we like the best? And so I went through them. I know you have yours as well. Mm-hmm. I loved 2 of them. One of them I've already kind of touched on the show today, which is I was talking about Trent Williams and the Niners and how, between him and Ayuk, but specifically about Trent Williams, this is getting a little dicey. Like, if Trent Williams is not playing, by the way, that's another question. J-Rod asked this on Twitter. He's like, what do you think Trent Williams means to an actual line? Now, we know that only quarterbacks generally move the betting line. But intrinsically, what ought he mean to the line is, I guess, what he's asking. And I think it's a great question. But Matt Humans went under on the Niners, 11.5, minus 130. Under 11.5 season wins, minus 130. And I kind of like that, man. They won 12 games last year without all these problems. 12. Mm-hmm. Expect them to get to 12 again. I mean, I love the Niners. I do. I think, and they may still win the Super Bowl. But it's a tough ask. And that opening game against the Jets, man, I don't know.
I also think that, the NFC West is, in my opinion, it's definitely not going to be easier than it was last year. Maybe it's not a whole lot tougher, but I think it's a little bit tougher at least than it was last year.
The other one I really liked, and Will Hill said this on our show too. You and I talked a lot about last winless and how we don't want to overthink it. We're like, Patriots, man, I'm sorry. Now, there was the Giants caveat where it's like, okay, but if the Giants lose to the Vikings opening day, maybe they're a sneaky last winless play, if not the Patriots, who are the rightful short shot. What about last undefeated? Will Hill came on here, and he included this in the guide, in the new updated guide. Last undefeated Jets, 15-1. And I think it's the same theory as the Giants' last winless thing, right? Which is, okay, the Jets have the Niners, right? Obviously opening Monday night. Okay, yeah, you're right. They're dogs in that. But if they win, just like we said about the Giants, if they happen to lose to the Vikings in the last winless, with the Jets, if they are able to beat the San Francisco 49ers, then you look at their schedule and you're like, oh boy, that 15-1, that doesn't get chopped in half to me. That gets just absolutely chopped down to a stub. Because after that, it's at Tennessee, home New England, home Denver, at Minnesota, home Buffalo, at Pittsburgh, at New England, and we're already at Halloween at that point. So I kind of like that one as my second one. So Humans under the Niners, win total 11.5 for all of the chaos going on. And I really like Will Hill's last undefeated on the Jets at 15-1.
Yeah, we're going to talk. J-Rod, we're going to talk that market tomorrow, I promise. They were one of the teams I wrote down, though. They were like my third or fourth favorite in that market.
Yeah, me too. But I'm saying that when I look through them, I'm like, oh, you know what? That might even be worth a bet. Yeah, he might have talked me into it. What do you got?
I like that we landed on different ones. All right, I wrote down a few I liked. Wes Reynolds, Buccaneers to finish last in NFC South.
Bold.
I kind of like it, though, because I do think that there's Atlanta, and then it's probably New Orleans, and I think Tampa Bay and Carolina could be battling it out at the bottom. The only one, of course, we hate when we say this, but 5-1, thought there would be a little bit longer Bucs to finish dead last.
I wanted a little sexier than that.
Yeah. But I still like it. It's not one I really thought about. I think that's how I kind of approached it. It's like, what are the bets that I didn't really think about all that much? Paul Howard, I like what he did with the Patriots. Essentially the same thing I did with the Bears, where he went alt high and then played it under. There's a lot of Patriots love in the unders love in the guide. I understand it. Me and you are both on him, Gill. I've bet it a lot of different ways. This is probably the safest way, though, if you wanted to be a little more careful with it. Stormy, I thought she had good bets. Lowest scoring team, Patriots and Giants.
Too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think even going to combine those, because I think those would probably be the first two we would mention. Steelers, the two of us would probably throw in there as well, but like those. And then Matt Brown, Jared Smith, both with Chargers underplays, which I kind of mentioned earlier. I'm like kind of surprised I haven't added yet.
Matt Brown, Jared Smith, Chargers under 8.5. The only reason I didn't include that is because we sort of agree with that and talked about it a lot. So
and then special shout out though too. If we want to go the other way, I did this last week. Joe Cirolo, over on the Steelers.
Yes.
Big applause because there's a lot of underlove for the Steelers. I just like to see something different. And then Steve Mackinnon over on the New England Patriots. So
I caught that as well.
Yes, at least so we got some zagging where everybody else is zigging in the guide.
It's interesting to see what everybody has.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe's and Steve's reasoning for his over on the Patriots has a lot to do with Mackinnon stuff, trends, and that kind of historical analysis. And Joe's on the over on the Steelers has a lot to do with he's not bucking Mike Tomlin.
Mm-hmm.
He just refuses. So people have their reasons.
I mean, it has bit me multiple years in a row. Like, it's hard for me to sit here and argue it.
Check it out, VSiN.com/betting-guide. Do I have that right? Betting-guide.
Anybody else knows how Gill just launches into this?
Back me up with a promo maybe on the screen so I can confirm that, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to send people right to the right spot. No. There it is. Betting-guides, plural. VSiN.com/betting-guides. Crackman Unscripted next. Numbers game.
Don't wait until fall to start betting the NFL. Get a jump start now with the VSiN NFL.